Rocco, Greg, Colton. Guys, put a message in the chat if you can hear me. Pretty please. Now, we've never done this live stream on YouTube before, so you guys have to bear with us. We're learning, but it looks pretty straightforward. We're just figuring out chat. If you are able to put a message in the chat and you can hear me, please do so. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes here to file in.
Only 4 people know how to. Oh, there we go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
It's probably my slow internet.
They're coming in. Yeah, they're coming in. Sometimes the chat's a little delayed on purpose. Is that the Eli Tomac? Who is that, you clowns? We got Eli Tomac in the house. Glad we could teach you something tonight.
If I had to guess, that's probably like Ethan.
Who do we not see? I don't see Ethan. It could be Ethan. All right, so we got 36 people in here, 37. Should just give me a list. All right, guys, again, we're going to give everybody a few minutes just to get in here before we get rolling with our topic of discussion. We can open up to some questions. This is not Ethan. I know, it's Eli. I'm Eli Tomac. You guys are funny, man. Who made their own YouTube account so they could post as Eli Tomac? Who does that? Ethan.
Might be Eli.
It might be Eli. If it is, welcome. Happy to have you. Manage guests. I wish it just gave me Ethan does. Yeah, he does. Wish it just told me who's in here. I don't like that I have to look for it. You guys are funny. Oh, participants, there we go.
Yeah, I don't. Where does it show where everybody's at?
I don't know. I'm looking on my computer. Ooh, we got 5 likes already. You guys are too generous. Ride, live, repeat. It's a lifestyle, not a hat.
I think that's what this symbol means too.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be my new catchphrase. Is I just want to be jacked and ride dirt bikes. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be the intro to every one of my YouTube videos from now on. 8 likes, 12. Can we get it up to 43? Can we do it? Haley, what's up? Welcome.
I don't know if Travis knows how to like it, so we'll be stuck at 42.
47 now. I don't know what happens if we get to 48 likes. I don't. Hit that for the YouTube algorithm. Make that bell ring.
I think it might crash YouTube. It might crash YouTube.
Haley, it's good to hear from you. We haven't talked a whole lot since the end of Loretta's. Hope everything's been going well. And if we get enough of our MTF Online crew in here, we'll talk about the new training block a little bit too and answer any questions you guys have. Blake, do you notice that there's a W in your name instead of an E?
I wasn't gonna be the one to point it out. I was like, Blake, you spelled your own name wrong.
And everybody else can see it. Eli Tomac, got any questions for us? Kick it off. Ethan Tomac.
He's not gonna admit that it's him.
Yeah, except for he's the only man. Well, that's crazy. If Ethan doesn't show up to this live stream, then we might not be able to ride amateur supercross tomorrow.
Come on,
So-
Blake. Yeah.
Gianluca, what's up, man? Glad you can make it to the live stream. I like your YouTube name. How do I stay safe, healthy, and strong?
Hey,
How do you not blow
Gian,
and
did you get that? Did you get that video, Gian, from the last camp? Did it come through? I think it's just delayed. So
It is a little bit delayed.
Yeah, like for when they type and it comes through. All right, guys. So Jacob.
I do have a topic, so I'm reading these chats. Fede.
You see Dungy came in the chat too?
Is he? He should be.
Yep.
Ryan Dungy. Hi, guys.
Two chants.
Ryan, welcome. I'm honored. Who else is not here? Ryan Dungy. China, it's not Ryan Dungy. Where's Hayden Deegan? He said he was going to be here. All right. So the topic we're talking about is going to be strength training for motocross. How can you strength train for strength instead of size? A couple things we need to talk about first is that strength training is absolutely something that should be part of your training program, because what most people don't know is that when you strength train, like, yes, your muscles get stronger, but so do your bones, your tendons, and your ligaments. They respond to that tension in the same way that your muscles do, and they actually get more dense and more resistant to injury. So obviously that's important because in motocross, we tend to hit the ground pretty often, and if your body is strong, less likely to break when it hits the ground. Pretty crazy. Strength training also does not always mean bigger muscles. It can mean that, but it doesn't happen overnight, and it definitely doesn't happen by accident. If you've ever tried to put on size, I know some people in this chat have tried to put on size. It takes time, and it's definitely not as easy as you think, right? Like, it takes consistent effort. A lot of times takes years, not just a couple of weeks. And so people that think they're going to get too big on accident, they just don't understand, what it takes to actually get that big. So you're not going to get too big to ride. Have you guys ever gone to work out and then get home, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, dude, I'm jacked now? Probably not, right? Fitness and size comes on over a long period of time, especially if you've been training for a while like we have. So don't be afraid of getting too big to ride. Another point that I want to mention real quick is that strength training by itself does not cause more arm pump. If you believe it does, obviously it's more likely the belief that's causing the arm pump more so than the actual strength training. The only way that strength training will increase arm pump is if you're doing exercises that are specifically designed to make the forearms bigger, like wrist curls. When you're just holding heavy weight, right, which is the only real way you're using your forearms when we work out, it's using what's called an isometric contraction, which basically means you're just flexing your hand. There's no stretching, there's no tension. It's all just kind of brute force gripping, and that's not a good muscle contraction for muscle growth, right? So it is really good for strength. And I think grip strength, we can all agree, is pretty important for motocross. So that being said, this is something that we're applying right now here at MTF. This is the current block that we're on. If you want to train strength without getting bigger, in general, you should structure your strength training like this. You do 2 days per week, hitting each muscle group twice per week has time and time again been shown to be the gold standard when it comes to maintaining muscle and strength. You can accomplish that by doing 2 full body days, or you can do upper lower 4 days out of the week, or you can do push pull legs, but that means you have to lift 6 times a week. So obviously we want to save most of our energy and time for riding, cardio, and strength training is not, the primary part of our program. So we prefer a full body split twice per week. This allows us to hit each muscle group twice per week, kind of hitting that gold standard like I was talking about. And then you also need to alternate between doing like a really heavy day for lower reps. You can go anything between 3 and 10. The lower, the less hypertrophy or the less muscle gain you're going to see. The higher, you'll see a little bit more muscle gain, which we do want some, because some of us could just, stand for a little extra muscle. And with muscle, generally strength comes as well. Just not, no one in the next 6 weeks is going to get so big that they have a problem. And then the other day you want is a speed day. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. The speed day is lifting lightweight as explosively and fast as you can. Some examples of this might be clap push-ups, speed bench press, squat jumps with a hex bar or dumbbells, medicine ball throws, broad jumps, really athletic exercises that are explosive and very fast. The speed day is important because you're now training your nervous system along with the muscles, right? So you can be a little tired and a little sore, but you don't need as much help from your muscles because it's really lightweight. You're just trying to move it as fast as you can. Another example of when you're training the nervous system primarily is what we call newbie gains. So if someone doesn't have a lot of experience weightlifting, they will often see significant results in the first 6 to 8 weeks. But more often than not, they're actually pretty confused because they look the same. They see the strength going up, but they don't have any extra muscle. The number on the scale hasn't changed. And that's because you're training the nervous system. Your muscles are literally learning how to fire more efficiently, and how can you better use the muscle that you already have to the max, right? And your body's also just getting more coordinated. Like, it's getting better at working together as a unit. So you're becoming more athletic, stronger. Your body learns how to work together, and it's more about how do I use the muscle I have most effectively, instead of how can I get my muscles bigger so that I can then produce more force. So if you alternate really heavy strength days with light speed days, you will get stronger and more athletic without getting exercise. So does anybody have any questions on that? Did we know that?
So when you brought up the speed, and I know about this, but maybe others don't. You talked about bench press. So is that going to be just as fast as you can do it, up and down, or how does that work?
So even though it's speed, you only want speed for the concentric part. So an example of that would be for bench press, you would want to go really slow on the way down, and then as soon as you touch your chest, you explode up. And like you're moving fast, but it's controlled, right? You don't want to be a goon. And has anybody seen that video where the guy takes it's like a dowel, or like doesn't have any weight, and he like bench presses it as fast as he can until he falls off the bench, and then gets up and pretends he's all wide and starts bumping into people? That's an example of what we don't want, right? So
that guy's he's living on the edge, bumping into the guys he's bumping into.
yeah, he's pretty lucky. I've seen it go wrong where they do like take a swing at him. I don't know. I wouldn't do that. I don't like getting hit in the face personally. So no, that's a good question. For everything, like even for the like hex bar jumps, you would slowly lower yourself down, maybe touch the plates or get to about 90 degrees in your knees, and then you explode up. You always want to be in control. Like, speed does not mean sloppy. I think that's a big misconception that people have. Speed can be very controlled.
Yeah.
Did I see Simon in there?
Yeah,
Simon,
you did.
welcome. Davey Millsaps in the house, huh? What's up, Davey? Message retracted. Ryan Dungy, what'd you say, man? Sponge. Would have joined MTF online training program. Do you think I still would have torn my Achilles? Definitely not. That's actually a guarantee we make. No Achilles tears.
No, don't. You can't make that guarantee.
I can try. All right, let's take a look at the chat. So you guys all knew that then. We don't have any questions on that? Would you go off time or reps and sets? Cody has a question for you after. Does that look like a cougar, Cody? All right, going to Noah's question. So Noah, would you go off of time or reps? I would definitely go off of time, reps, because when you use reps, I would go off of reps. When you use reps, it's like a fancy way of controlling time, right? So if I know that muscles respond best to 30 seconds of constant tension and stretch, the way that I would make sure I get to 30 seconds is by doing 10 reps. Or if 8 reps takes me 25 seconds, you go to 10, you're going to be at 30, right? So it's a fancy way. Same with like, you also, it's better for your tendons and your ligaments for you to go slowly. And one way that we control speed is by changing the weight, making it either heavy or lighter. If it's heavy, even though you may want to move it fast, you can't, right? So it's a way of controlling the speed of the bar as well as, just like the time under tension.
Am I frozen on your screen too?
Yes, you are. I thought you were just intently looking at me. You stand in the mirror and flex all the time like you're Ronnie Coleman? Good. You should. Good for self-esteem. Let's see. Cody, that's not a cougar. I don't know what that is, but it's not a cougar.
It's a deer.
It's a deer.
Can you hear me at least?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh.
I don't know. On my computer, you're not frozen. Either way. Hopefully you guys can't hear my baby crying in the background. She's awake for some reason. All right, so let's go through a couple more of these questions.
Peyton had a question as well.
Yeah, Peyton, would you do more reps, lighter weight, or less reps, heavier weight? So that's where it's going to depend on your goal. I wish I could share this photo I have of this set and rep range. So one thing you guys have to understand about reps is it's on a continuum. It's not black and white. So what it means to be on a continuum is the benefits of each kind of blend through. So if you're doing reps from 3 to 6, you're mostly going to get strength and power, but you'll get a little bit of muscle endurance and a little bit of hypertrophy. Now, if you go 8 to 12, you're going to get mostly hypertrophy, which is muscle gain, but you're still going to get some strength, some power, and some muscle endurance. And then anything over 20 reps or 13 to anything over 20 reps is going to be mostly muscle endurance. So for us, we go in training blocks. Like when we first come back, say we'll take right now, for example, after September, everybody's been off for a little while. So we go through what I call a GPP, which is general physical preparedness. In that block, we're going to work on regaining some strength, rebuilding our base cardio, and really just kind of setting ourselves up for later blocks. So we start with strength. We try to build our strength back up with the low to moderate reps and some of the speed training. And then we're going to transition from the speed training and the strength training into muscle endurance. So just by being stronger already, like if your max bench press is 300 pounds and I ask you to do 135, your muscle endurance for 135 is going to be really, really good because you're so much stronger than what that is asking of you, right? So it's the same thing of like, if I ask you to do a 400-pound squat, that'd be pretty heavy. But if you can do a 400-pound squat and I say do as many reps at 200 as possible, you'll be able to last a lot longer than you would the 400-pound squat because you're so much stronger than what your body's asking of you for the 200-pound squat. I hope that makes sense. Let's see. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to get better at the whoops? It's pretty simple. You put your butt on the back fender and you twist the throttle wide open and pray. No, I'm just kidding. Brian, if you have anything to say.
That's Deegan's mindset.
Yeah. Hope you enjoy getting
What
bucked
advice would
over
you?
the handlebars.
Can you hear me or see me, or am I still frozen?
I can hear you, can't see you.
Well, you have to have whoops. TF, we have whoops that the riders can work every day. The problem with getting better in whoops is not many tracks have whoops to practice, just because they're very hard to maintain and they get broken down and you have to rebuild them, daily or every other day. And if you don't keep moisture in them, you're kind of working with dry clumpy dirt or cups, so it can make it a little bit more difficult. So you need whoops. It's just about confidence and consistency. The worst thing you can do is shut off or change in a set of whoops. So like anything, the more you get in them, the better you're going to get at them. A lot of confidence, and you can't just fake confidence. It takes time and reps with anything on a dirt bike, but especially whoops, because they are one of the harder things. Yeah, then technique and everything's going to be important. You could talk about technique with the whoops, where your knees are, where your feet are, where your legs are, but you need all that, and you just need a lot of repetition in them, and that's why we have them actually on our outdoor track, so that our riders are able to get them in them a lot more, and just get comfortable.
Yeah, like TJ just said, faster you go, the easier whoops are.
Yep.
Wise
and he's
words from Mr.
and he's
TJ.
pretty good at whoops. The
He's
faster you
very
go, the easier they are, but the faster you go, the quicker things can go wrong when you're scared and not confident, because the first thing you're going to do when you're not confident is shut off the gas or change, and then the back end's going and it slams you into the whoop hard.
Davey Millsaps just said, Jacob, my max bench is more. Jay saying, okay, buddy. Do we think Davey can bench more than me? I don't think so.
Yes.
No.
Mm.
Whoa. No. Whatever. I'm gonna pretend you say that. All right, let's go back to a little bit. How do I get strong while still having good stamina? From Eli Tomac. So it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about how you have to have cycles to your training program, right? You can't train the exact same way year round because your body is very adaptive, and whatever you're currently doing is what your body's trying to adapt to. So if you only ever strength train, you never do cardio, your body's only going to think, okay, for me to survive, I just have to be really strong. And then conversely, if you only do cardio, your body's going to think, well, I don't need strength for anything, so let's strip away all this muscle and get really skinny, and we're just going to be weak because all I need to do is run or cycle. So the key to being strong and having stamina is to find a good way to do both. And you have to prioritize, like there's a reason why we ride first in the day, right? Whichever day or whichever goal you're more interested in. For us, we care way more about quality of riding than we do quality of workout. So we allocate, which is a fancy way to say we put all of our energy into what we do first for the day, and then whatever energy is left over is what we put into everything else, which is usually the gym side of things. But then if it was a day we aren't riding, if my main goal right now, if I care more about getting strong, I'm going to do my strength training in the morning and then separated by hours, not like I do my lift and then 10 minutes later I do my run. I would do it like 4 or 5 hours later, then I would do my cardio. So that the majority of my energy went into my strength training, what I care most about, and then whatever I had left, I put into the cardio.
Landon asked about arm pump. Is there anything? Wait, let me find it again. Drink apple. Hold on.
Yeah, so Landon asked, is there anything?
Oh, is there anything to do for? Yes, there's many things. Drink pickle juice is one thing that people talk about, just because it's an electrolyte. So sometimes you're not hydrated can be one thing. Suspension can be another thing. You can be actually fatigued on when you're getting. It's just muscle fatigue later on in the moto. If your muscles start to fatigue, and then you're going to hold on, and that muscle is going to break down, and you're going to pump up, right? So, or your suspension can be a little harsh, and it's giving you too much feedback in. So there's so many things that go into arm pump with your breathing. Are you breathing? Are you holding on tighter, right? So there's not one answer for arm pump, and I think that's what makes it so tough with arm pump. The magic pill or one magic you could do, it'd be worth $1 million because everybody would sign up for it, but there isn't, and there's so many things that it can be, and it just goes back to being comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more relaxed you can be with your upper body, especially, and the better you are with your legs and stronger your legs are, the more relaxed you can be with your arms. And when you open your shoulders up, you use more shoulders than forearms. So many things that go into arm pump. I don't think it's one thing specific. So you would just kind of have to evaluate what you're doing and start checking off boxes. Are you eating enough calories? Are you sleeping good? You know, so once you check off all the boxes, are you comfortable? Are you breathing? And then you can kind of pinpoint what it maybe is.
Yeah, I mean, there's some strength things you can do. Like, obviously, it's crazy because I don't ride near as much as you guys do. And if you were to like flex your forearm and compare between me and you, your guys' forearms are like rock hard and mine is not. So that just goes to show you that strength training does not stimulate the forearms enough to get like a lot of muscle growth. Like, if anything, riding is what builds forearms. I mean, you guys need strong forearms and your bodies are trying to adapt to make you better for whatever you're demanding of it, right? So you can do some grip training. We know the dead hangs from a pull-up bar 100% helps if you can get through it. It is very tough mentally to push through that because those muscles are very small. They get fatigued extremely quickly. So there's a lot of things you can do. But there's a lot of things that also just comes down to being comfortable. Like a lot of you hear the top guys all the time say like, yeah, I got arm pump because I messed up my setting. Like they just weren't comfortable. It's not always like a physical thing. It's just when you're not comfortable, you hold your breath, you hold on tighter, you start messing up, making silly little mistakes, and it all just kind of has a waterfall effect.
And I mean, some people it's a little bit of genetics too. Some people pump up a little easier than
Definitely.
others. Genetics have a big factor in just how your body works and how muscles work. I had a teammate one time, Sean Skinner was his name, and every moto they would have to change his grips because he would literally twist the grip and stretch it like an inch and a half. He would like twist it like 4 times. He was holding on so tight, but he had never had arm pump in his life, and he was strong as an ox. And you would talk to him about arm pump. He's like, "Is that when your like shoulders burn a little bit? Because I feel that sometimes." I'm like, "You have no idea."
All right, so I'm trying to go through the chat to find my last question. Let's see. Hey, Luke, what do you think I should do after completing the online gym program? So I believe you're in the intermediate right now, right? If that's we designed our online training programs to be done kind of in sequence. So if you're in the intermediate, you're definitely ready for the advanced, and the advanced pretty much follows what we do here at MTF. Like the training block in the gym is similar. It's not completely identical because there's some things that I can do with these guys that I just can't do with you guys online, but it's very close. At least it's the same training goal. So I would absolutely consider signing up for the advanced online. Then you get access to these Q&As because we're doing this publicly tonight, just kind of for fun, really. But usually these types of Q&As where we just sit here and answer questions and we talk about training topics is something that we only offer for our MTF online members. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. You can either text me on Instagram or even now, and I can get you whatever information you need, get you rolling in the advanced training. Let's see, where are we at? Cody Samples, would you say stamina or strength matters more? I mean, like, if you're, the problem is that there's no person out there, there's no coach, there's no athlete that says you need to be able to bench your body weight and then you're strong enough for motocross. There's no, even in like the NFL, they don't know if you can bench 400 pounds, you're strong enough to be a lineman. Like, there's no hard number of like you're now strong enough for your sport. So that's why it's tough to say that strength is more important. I think stamina, like motocross, you guys are medium distance endurance athletes. So they're both extremely important, just in different ways. I don't know if you could really pick one or the other, but if I had to pick one or the other, I'd say probably stamina is more important because I mean, raw strength is good just to make sure you don't get injured. And obviously, the bike's heavy, and the stronger you are, the easier it is to ride. But strength is not always like if you were exclusively strength training, you probably wouldn't have the endurance to do what you need to do.
Yeah, and then again, building off of that, no matter how strong you are, no matter how much endurance you have when you're riding a dirt bike, if you don't breathe, you don't do the things that allow you to last amount of time, you can be strong as can be and hold your breath 3 or 4 or 5 and you're blown in 2 laps. Doesn't mean you're weak, right? So there's many factors that sometimes make you feel weaker than you are, or maybe that your cardio isn't as good as it is when you start doing certain things on a bike. Sometimes goes back to uh, um, being nervous, not being comfortable. A lot of times after races, I think is a big time we see you guys as riders sometimes question things that you do in the gym, or you need more cardio. I need more cardio. I got tired, but a lot of that sometimes has to do with nerves and what you did when you were racing, right? Holding on tighter, not breathing as effectively as you should. So no matter how good of shape you're in, your body's not going to be able to do it.
Yep. And Noah, I missed Noah's question. What's the best type of exercise for a motocross rider? You can interpret that question a couple different ways. So I'm going to go with the way that I interpret it. And you're asking, like, in the gym, what's the best type of exercise? Or maybe you mean between like strength training and cardio. So for strength training, the best type of exercise for motocross riders will be whatever mimics the same body movements, like that you see on the dirt bike. So, for instance, we work a lot with horizontal push and horizontal pull. That'd be with your arms moving front to back in the horizontal plane. Anything that deals with the hip hinge, like RDLs, anytime that you try to push your weight back to get ready for whoops or rollers, or when you're about to case a jump, anytime you're pushing your butt back and keeping your back flat, that's just a hinge. And then also squats are in there for, again, rollers or anytime you're working your legs. So that's why you don't see us doing things like bicep curls or like overhead tricep extensions or any type of isolation work. We really do more full body compound movements that are directly in line with what we need to be strong on the dirt bike. And then the best type of exercise for a motocross rider, really, if I had to pick one thing for a motocross rider to do, it would be to ride. It's impossible to replicate what you're doing on the bike. And I tell people all the time, like as the gym trainer, I wish that I could say that all you need is my program and you'll be good to go. But it's just not. It's just not the case. If you have a perfect gym program, you still only have half a program. You need to be in good shape off the bike, but you also need to put in the seat time to be able to be, strong and efficient, have good endurance, and you just can't cheat seat time. Nothing you can do about it. Let's see. How many times a week should I go to the gym? That's a good question. So usually, me personally, I would try to do some type of exercise 6 days a week. 6 days a week. If you're taking more than one day off each week, it means you're probably not managing your load properly. You're probably training too hard. Like if you're destroyed after doing 2 days of training and you're done for the week, you're probably training too hard or you're doing the wrong exercises. You should be able to get your training to a point where you can train 6 days a week. And if you take more than one day off in a week, it's really not that big of a deal, but just try not to take 2 days off in a row. Like if we don't ride on Friday and then we don't work out and then you guys don't do anything on Saturday or on Sunday, you did 4 days training and 3 days sitting on your butt doing nothing. So that's almost 50% work, 50% rest. That's a problem. That's a bad ratio.
Yeah, and you brought up if you did 2 days, and some people might do 2 days and feel like they're completely blown out. And it maybe isn't that they did too much. It could also be that you just didn't eat enough, you didn't sleep good, you didn't hydrate, right? Your body needs those things to be able to. So when you start doing more on the bike and off the bike, you're going calories, right? And I see it a lot in motocross riders that they have a little bit low on the calorie intake. Some whether they're sometimes just worried about gaining weight or gaining muscle or bulking, like you said, it's super hard to do that anyway. So it's not something that you should worry about. And when you're riding, 4 days a week or going to the gym 6 days a week, unless you're eating very unhealthy, it's pretty hard to gain weight. But I would say that's probably a very common thing and something that I saw when I was racing. That when I felt like I was waking up and really tired, that it was usually I was just low on the amount of calories I was getting, even though I was eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner and some snacks here and there. It can be a little tough to get the amount of calories you need, especially when it gets hot and you're doing sprints and you're doing a lot of motos. You'll be surprised how many calories you actually burn.
100%. Let's see. Can you explain the difference between cardio and muscular endurance? That's a good question. To be honest, on a big picture level, there is no difference. It just depends on how you apply it. Um, Having good cardio typically refers to the actual cardiovascular system, which is like the way that your body delivers blood to the rest of the body. So the only way that you can sustain exercise is you have to continually get energy pushed in, and you have to take the bad stuff, like when you burn, I don't know, when you burn gasoline, it emits smoke, right? Or if you burn oil, it emits smoke. Well, it's the same thing with your body. When you use energy, it leaves behind kind of like a bad byproduct. Usually, it's known as lactic acid. So the only way to sustain exercise is to bring energy in and take away the bad stuff. So if you have a good cardiovascular system, it means that your heart pumps a lot of blood. It means you have a lot of capillaries that distributes blood to the muscles, and they deliver oxygen very well so that you can continue exercising at your current rate. Now, muscular endurance is basically how well do you use that blood and how strong are your muscles at contracting continuously at a low percentage of your 1 rep max for a long period of time. So they really go hand in hand, and you definitely can't have one without the other, because like when we're doing a circuit in the gym with you know max reps in a minute and we're doing 3 or 4 laps, that really is cardio. It's just a higher intensity form of cardio. It's like a zone 4, zone 3 type of cardio. That's a good question. Let's see, I feel like I missed one.
Declan's dad had one on the.
Yep, I see that. I see that now.
Yeah,
When
Joe.
coming back from an injury and one side of the body is weaker, would you recommend isolating the weaker side to catch up, or sticking with compound movements? Um, in general, you definitely want to do a little bit of isolation work, um, but you want to isolate the muscles that are a little bit smaller, because those tend to not get hit as well. But like when you're gonna have to use that weak limb as the weak link in the chain, right? So if you're trying to leg press 200 pounds and your right leg feels good and your left leg doesn't, well, then you have to stay at 200 pounds until that left leg has caught up. And you can shortcut that a little bit by doing some isolation work. But sometimes you have to be careful when you do too much isolation work, it can create new imbalances. So it's really case by case. Um, like in Declan's case, we definitely will be doing some isolation work with him to try to get that leg stronger. And same with Oliver. I don't know if Oliver's here tonight, but he's having problems with, when he broke his tib fib, and he ran today and he still has a limp, and it's pretty painful for him still. So the fact that we can't do these things that we used to be able to do just means that we still have work to do and we can't settle. A lot of people, like for instance, Cannon with his elbow trying to get it back straight, and Luca with his shoulder trying to get the full range of motion after his shoulder surgery. A lot of people tend to only do rehab until they're able to get by without things really affecting their day. The problem with that is that they stop once they can get by, and then it never gets back to full. And so you're always a little bit limited by whatever it was, by whatever the injury was. So it's really hard to stay motivated, especially like once you get back on the bike. It's hard to be like, okay, but I still need to be doing my isolation work to catch up and get rid of these deficiencies. So, good question. Let's see.
And TJ brought up how long before a big race should you implement a race day diet into your training days? I think just finding that consistency that you like, and you how serious are you going to be about your race day diet. Jacob, you were here when Justin was here and Eric Sorby was here, Justin Barsha, that is. And he talked about how he was on his race day. From he has a bar at 8:20, and he has a Gatorade at 8:45, and he has oatmeal at 9:42. Whatever time it may be, he has everything, that no matter what's going on that day, whether he has a signing, he makes sure he has it. So I think that's where some people kind of set up what they're going to have on a race day, and on amateurs it's a little tougher because you don't know exactly when you are racing. But on professional side, you know exactly what time your free practice is, you know exactly what time your track walk is, you know exactly what time you first moto, second moto on an outdoor. So you could start from, months before, kind of see how your body reacts, how you feel, and go from there. So it's a little bit different whether it's an amateur or professional, just because you don't have everything set in time on an amateur side.
Yeah, and to kind of go off that, Piston Hill 88, not sure what your actual name is, but what do I eat on race day? It should be the exact same as what you eat on a training day. Like it's race day is not an opportunity to switch things up. A lot of people don't view it like this, but when every time that you train, yes, you have a chance to work on your bike skill and your fitness, but you also have a chance to test out nutrition strategies. So obviously, like not obviously, but there's basics you need to stick to. Like carbohydrates are more important than proteins on race day. And a lot of times your nutrition starts the day before, maybe even 2 days before. That's why they call it carb loading. Your body can hold on to a certain amount of energy in the form of glycogen, which is basically like sugar stored in your muscles. And so you need to start eating lots of carbs, which would be like pasta, rice, bread, granola, fruit, all things like that are that are light and a little sweeter tasting and have a lot of volume. And those carbs will get into your body and stay in your body. So like if you wake up on race day and you have lots of nerves, you know that you still are your gas tank is topped off, metaphorically speaking, from the previous couple days of eating. So you can just kind of snack throughout the day and not totally hit a wall. Now, of course, you should be trying to eat more food throughout the day. And a lot of times, especially if you struggle with nerves, I recommend doing smoothies or liquid calories because you can just kind of sip on it. Sometimes it's the act of chewing that makes it feel so difficult. And, our mind is just in other places trying to think about the race. So liquid calories are great on race day. Stick to things that are light, granola, fruit, you can do some nuts, just like go easy on the peanut butter, go easy on the protein shakes, go easy on the chicken breast. If you can get things like rice, pasta, bread, toast, make things that are light, they don't upset your stomach, and eat as much as you can and still be physically comfortable. I try to stay away from the carbonated drinks because they say that the carbonation is what like gives you stomach cramps and it makes you feel really crappy on the line. Um, so as long as
Yeah,
you do those kind of things, you'll be all right.
and like you said, the most important thing is to try it before. Don't try new things on race day. If you have something as that is absolutely perfectly healthy, and your body should work great with your body, but for whatever reason your body kind of rejects it. I had a lot of sports drinks that didn't work well with my body, and it would actually give me the craps. So if I tried to change the sports drink, on race day, then there's a good chance I was going to the bathroom way more. And at an outdoor national, I'm definitely going to be dehydrated, right? So I see a lot of riders do, even before Loretta's, they're like, "Oh, what about this? What do you think about this?" And I'm going to do liquid IVs here, and I'm going to do this. If you've never done it before, it could kind of shock your body if it's not used to it, and make your body really react in a negative way and cause you to perform bad. So I think no matter what you're going to do on a day, you need to try it, and have something that you kind of stick to that works for you. And what you said too, don't just say, "Oh, I get nervous and I can't eat on race day." You've got to find something to work, because if your body's used to getting those calories and you kind of just go away from it, you're probably not going to perform like you normally do. Your brain's not going to work as good. Your reaction time's not going to be as good. So many things. Your performance isn't going to be, most likely isn't going to be as good consistently if you're not giving your body what it's used to getting.
Greg asks, is pasta good for dinner? Yes. Ethan. Ooh, Ethan joined us. Took a break from old ET3. How do I get more calories into me without feeling heavy while riding? Well, basically, you don't try to bulk around when you're riding. Don't be loading up and then going to ride. It's not going to work. So you got to either have a big breakfast at least 2 hours before you ride. And if you're struggling getting a lot of calories, you can get mass gainer shakes that have 1,500 calories. You just got to drink it. It's not ideal, but it's a good way to get a lot of calories in. Because usually, like if you've ever heard weight loss advice, where they say number one thing is don't drink your calories. If you're trying to gain weight, you want to go the exact opposite route of that, right? The more you can drink your calories, the more you get calories in without feeling like you're eating so much food. And then, rule number one is just don't do it in between motos. Don't do it within 2 hours before you ride. 2 hours before you ride, at least, so your body has time to digest, get rid of what it doesn't need. And then as soon as you're done riding, you go straight back onto the calories. That's what I'd recommend. Let's see. Been great so far, dedicating everything ahead of this last month. That's awesome, man. I love to hear it. Fede, we already got that. Jackson, would you do more cardio than strength training when you're training for a race like Loretta's? It depends on what part of the preparation you're in. I personally would like to see some strength training like 3 months out. And the closer you get, the more you want to transition to more muscle endurance, more cardio, just because that's kind of the way that you peak, right? I think it's good to check in with strength training every once in a while. Like a few times a year, we'll really hit a strength block hard. But as you get closer to races, strength is less important. Like our sheer numbers, like you guys will hit a strength training session like once every other week just to maintain. But definitely, I care more about endurance, and I do feel that it's closer to the demand of riding. So for sure cardio, but I would basically Gregory James Gordon's not me. Who is that? You guys are so weird. You know that? I would say for strength training, it just wouldn't be strength focused. It would be more endurance focused.
Tiger asked, "What are some key things to work when switching from a two-stroke to a four-stroke?" You're definitely a bit of a weight difference, so you're gonna have to you know build up a little bit of bike strength just switching from the bigger bike. Even if you're stronger off the bike, you're going to need to adjust and get a little bit of time to get a little stronger with that bike because it's going to be a little bit more weight. That weight is going to be distributed a little bit more. Engine brake, you're going to have a lot more engine brake depending on your engine builder because you can actually set your bike up not to have as much engine brake on a four stroke. So depending on who's doing your engine, stock motors are obviously going to have just a consistent amount of engine brake, but it's a lot more than a two stroke. So you're going to feel that when you're going to braking or shutting off the power. So the longer you're just off the power, the bike's going to slow down a lot more on its own. And then being in that higher gear and where you're not revving as much, two strokes create bend where four strokes create a lot of power still in the mid stroke, so they'll pull a lot better in a taller gear. They'll work better. So just some little things you don't want to be bouncing off the rev limiter because when you shut off, that's going to throw a lot more weight in a different area. So just play around with the gears, play around with how much throttle you use on the start as well, because some bikes will four stroke. Some riders will have a lot lower RPMs and some like higher RPMs. There's no right or wrong way. I've seen great starters on both ends of it, where on the two stroke side, you usually have to have higher RPMs to get that bike to pull, where it's a little bit different when you get on the four stroke.
Love it. David Millsaps said, Jaco, I love your style of workouts and how you teach everyone so many things and you don't just show people, you explain a lot of things. Thank you, Davey. Means a lot. Let's see, we got TJ Dakota. What foods, hydration products do you recommend on race day to not feel heavy and sluggish? Whatever you like to train with, man. We use Hammer. I like Bear Performance Nutrition. I think their products are really good. I know that Jordan Smith just started using them. He really likes it. I'm actually going to reach out to them and see if they would do some type of ambassador program with us or give us discount codes or something because I use their products. I really believe in them. Hammer is pretty good. I think that Hammer is a little bit diluted, meaning like you have to do a lot of scoops. For instance, like one scoop of Heat has like 110 calories and like 60 grams of sodium. Whereas the Bare Performance Nutrition stuff, if you're doing a hydration mix, it has one scoop, has 500 milligrams of sodium and no calories. So there's pros and cons to everything. I would try both of those products. I mean, we like Hammer, we like BPN stuff, which is Bare Performance Nutrition. Those are my personal recommendations. And again, just like stay away from the protein. No protein on race day unless you want a little bit just to settle your stomach. Protein is not going to be used as energy. I can promise you, it's going to be the last thing your body goes to. So if you're feeling tired, and this kind of goes back to your question also, Blake, what foods to eat when I'm feeling unenergized before motos or gym. You guys want to stick to carb-based foods, things like fruit, granola bars, things that are light, they're easy to digest. You don't want, like, anytime you introduce fat, which would be like if you do toast with avocado, or when you do, peanut butter on celery, peanut butter on fruit. Anytime you introduce fat, it slows down your digestion, which just means it's going to take longer for the calories to get into your bloodstream and give you that energy boost. So, hope that helps.
Haley brought up, what suspension
Yeah.
company do you guys recommend? Factory Connections is what we use here. We've been with them for a long information and intel on how a bike works, and just a lot of people they work with. So they have a lot of different settings for a lot of different weight. Where some smaller companies don't work with as many people, don't see as many sets of suspension. So their testing side, they're not going to have as much to test with. But we also, Factory Connection comes 3 times a year to test with our riders. I think that's a very important thing because riders ride different. They have different feels, what they like. Some people like more of a stiff setting, some people like more of a softer setting. So just, if a company isn't able to test with you, it's hard for them to learn those things about you when they can actually see how you ride, see how the bike works, and you give them a little bit of feedback. That's going to be a huge determinant way I would go as a rider. If you can get a company that kind of works with you, setting that you a bit more compared to something that you just send out, as long as it's a company that is, good enough to find a setting, right? If you're just at a mom and pop, sometimes they say they can do something, and even if they can test with you, sometimes they're not good enough, or they don't have enough knowledge to get you the setting you need.
Is buttered sausage good for breakfast? I'm gonna call you Llama. Llama would make a whole pan of bacon and coat it in maple syrup and eat the whole pack, and then go ride. Llama.
Blake, so what's a good way to track your calorie intake? You would just need to wear your heart rate monitor when you're riding, see what you're burning during motos, and then you can kind of have an idea what you burn in section days, what you burn on moto days, and depending on what you're doing in the gym, you've kind of learned, right? You kind of learn, okay, a 20-minute moto, I burn 300 calories. A 30-minute moto, I burn 500 calories. Whatever it is, you learn where your heart rate is compared to others, and then you can kind of just see how your day was and what you did, and know what you're going to need to take in. So it's kind of a learning that you'll just have to start tracking a little bit when you ride, because everybody's a little different.
And try out MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is a great way just to start. Like, it has if you upgrade to premium, you can buy it for like 1 month. It's like $10. It has a barcode function where every food that you buy, if you bought it from a store, it has a barcode on it. You can scan it with your camera, and it brings up the exact food. You just have to tell it how much of the food you ate. So tell it how much you ate. It's going to tell you the calories, the protein, fat, carbs, the whole breakdown. And just starting to pay attention will be really game changing for you. It opens your eyes a lot. You can ask other people, like I know Nick Burgess. It was really eye opening for him. He started really paying attention, and it transforms the way that you view food. So MyFitnessPal, I can show you the app, show you how to download it. It's really easy to use. Just start paying attention. That's the best thing you can do. Yeah, guys, if you're hopping off, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you guys are saying goodnight. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I think we're going to pretty much wrap it up here in the next few minutes anyway.
Yeah, we only got a few minutes left. I want to so what's your thoughts on Rhino Power products? Rhino Power, I think, is okay. I know some people that use it. The hydration seems to be pretty good. I like their hydration mix that also has carbohydrates in it. The one thing I wasn't super fond of with Rhino Power is the last time I saw it. It may be different now because it's been a while since I've really taken a deep dive into their stuff. Um, the plan was insane. Like they gave a card that said like you have to take these 5 pills today. You have to do a scoop of this, a scoop of this, and a scoop of this. And I just thought that the routine was so complex and unnecessary. I think you take a multivitamin, take a hydration mix, and maybe a whey protein. I don't think you need to get crazy with all these crazy supplements. So for that reason, it's not my favorite, but I do know a lot of people like it. And if it agrees with your body, makes you feel good, that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
My phone fell.
Yeah, I heard that.
Am I still frozen?
Yeah, you've been frozen since like 10 minutes in.
Oh, what the heck? Did I freeze it somehow? Probably.
I don't know. That's a Colleen move. No, I'm just kidding. Off the topic of nutrition, do you have any recommendations on how to mentally recover from a big crash that caused injury? I have my thoughts on this. I'm sure Brian, you have your thoughts. I think that you have to you don't become a confident individual by yelling affirmations at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm tough, I'm not going to crash, I'm not scared of anything. I think that you become a confident individual by stacking undeniable proof that that's who you are, right? So when you're riding, every day that you don't have a problem, every day that you don't crash, or you're burning laps and doing motos, every day you're building confidence and you're getting better. So you just have to start proving to yourself that you can ride without crashing again. And it starts small, it starts slow, it takes a lot of time. Um, but just start stacking that proof that like I do know how to ride. I can be a safe rider. Don't take unnecessary risks, and send things in practice. It is important to practice how you want to perform for sure. But on a day where the track's getting chewed up and you're getting a little bit of arm pump or you're getting really fatigued and you have the choice to either stay safe and back it down and live to train another day, or you decide to send it and end up having a problem. Obviously, one is better than the other. Racing is its own situation, but you have to start stacking proof. Prove to yourself every
Yeah.
day that you can do it without getting hurt, and over time, you'll forget. You'll forget that you even got hurt.
And I think every individual is a little bit different how they come back. Some are think a little bit more, and they need that. You're not going to lie to that person. They're not going to tell themselves. They're not going to see somebody that tells them to tell themselves they're the best and they're never going to get hurt again and they're just a badass. So, and then there's people that just don't need anything and they come back quick. So I think what you said, it's that repetition, it's that time, it's that consistency. Every lap, every time you hit that jump again, that maybe you had a little bit of doubt, it just gives you a little bit more confidence, and you're going to become a better rider, a more confident rider. You can't replace time, yeah, or time on the motor.
Yeah, 100%. Todd is asking, would you recommend 3 meals a day or 5 to 6? Honestly, all I care about is at the end of the day, like when you're just getting started with nutrition, focus on hitting your daily totals. Pick your calorie goal, your protein, your carb, your fat. Mainly just your protein and your carb. Fats, I just kind of let fall wherever it falls. And then eat however many meals make sense to you. So if you count a meal as 400 calories in between motos, you can have as many meals a day as you want. For most people, it just fits the traditional work-life structure where you have time to eat before work, you have a lunch break, and then you eat dinner before you go to bed. So 3 meals is just kind of arbitrary. It doesn't really matter. It's based on your lifestyle and what works for you.
Yeah, and I
More
think
meals
as
just means they can be smaller. They don't have to be so light or so heavy. Excuse me.
yeah, and usually once you start training, as long as you're eating somewhat healthy, it's usually three main meals and snacking throughout the day. Pretty much, almost every break, you're getting some type of snack. Depending, and it could be 300 calories, it could be 400 calories. Because on the riders are probably burning 3,500, 4,000 calories.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Looks like that's going to be a wrap. Guys, if you're not part of the MTF online training and you want access to stuff like this, I put a link in the description. Check out the online training. We really believe in our training programs. Obviously, we see proof every day. It's the same training concepts, the same track training schedules that these guys get when they're here with us full time. So check the link in the description. Check out our online training. Feel free to email or message us on Instagram if you guys have any questions, or we can even book a phone call. And I think we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for all the questions, guys. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun answering them.
All right. See you guys. Good night.
See you guys.